Welcome to Films and Stuff with your hosts, Pete Mitchell and Ethan Hunt.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Films and Stuff podcast. I'm Ethan, joined by MVP, which stands for the most valuable Pete. Hey, Pete, how are you today?
I am great. You know, I just realized when you say MVP, because I'm the only P, I think I get it by default.
Yeah, you're the only valuable P.
I'm the only
OVP.
P. I'm the OP.
Just the OP. So we are back with our weekly stream or skip episode. And I start off every episode by welcoming viewers and giving Pete 15 seconds to explain the protocols, shall we say, of what is the core of Streamer Skip. So, Pete, I hand it over to you to explain the rules.
Thank you. So Ethan and I have prepared lists of TV shows and movies for each other to watch. Every week, we randomly assign each other one of those shows to watch. We have to watch at least 2 episodes or 30 minutes if it's a feature-length program. And on that basis, we determine if that show or movie is worthy of being streamed or skipped.
Right, you are. And without further ado, we've got a pretty good lineup today. Pete, I'll let you kick it off. You were assigned by me a show on Apple TV Plus named Constellation, which obviously sounds like it's either sci-fi or space-based. Am I wrong?
Nope, you are absolutely right. In fact, it is sci-fi and it is space-based.
Oh, 2 for 2.
2 for 2. To start off with, I already had high hopes because, as we've said time and time again, Apple has kind of really built its niche on sci-fi shows over the last couple of years. You know, we've liked all of their sci-fi shows like Silo, like For All Mankind. They've kind of become
Invasion.
the go-to place for these kinds of programs that you've probably never heard of, but are pretty dang good.
We could also say they're kind of realistic sci-fi. You know, they're not like reinventing everything.
Yeah, it's not, you're right. It's not like sci-fi like Battlestar Galactica. It's not sci-fi like Star Wars.
Star Trek.
We're not looking at lasers. We're not looking at photon torpedoes.
Yeah.
We're not looking at, lightsabers.
Yeah. Space station
But we
stuff.
are looking at, maybe this is a new genre, or maybe I'm coining it and it exists, but it's like grounded sci-fi, which is to say, this is not about a story that's set, 10,000 years in the future or like in an alternate timeline.
Yeah.
This is more like, hey, this is like present day or 30 years from now or 50 years from now within our own time frame or within our own, timelines and our own lifetimes, rather. So anyway, Constellation, I've watched only 2 episodes so far, and it seems like it's going to be a pretty damn good grounded sci-fi show. Now,
you're in.
I'm in. Let me give you the score up front, and then let me explain why, and let me explain the premise. So the score I'm giving it is a mooch. However, as I told you offline, this is pretty close to being a must subscribe. It is, I would say this is on the cusp of being a must subscribe. The reason I don't give it a must subscribe just yet is because so far this has given me a strong vibe of Invasion, which is also another Apple TV program. And for our longtime listeners, you'll remember this is actually our first ever podcast that we recorded was on Invasion.
Invasion? No way. Even I didn't know that. I'm a longtime listener.
Too Many Mysteries, Not Enough Solutions was the title of that episode. And that was the problem I had with Invasion was it was, they kept you on the edge for so long. And then at the end of the season, they still didn't give you answers. And I was like, oh man, like there was no payoff.
It just kept getting like deeper and deeper and deeper until it was like so annoying. You're like,
and
well,
then there
what's
was a
going on?
cliffhanger of an ending at the end of the season, and you're just like, what the F, man? Like,
Yeah.
I kind of want to get on with this, right? And I'm not saying that's what's happening here. I'm just saying that could happen here. And if it does, then I'll downgrade this. I'll keep this at a strong mooch, and I'll never let this go. But if by the end of the 8th episode or 10th episode, whatever it is, I don't need to know what the exact mystery is, but I need to have a better idea of what's happening before I'm all in 100%.
Yeah.
If I get that and if it feels satisfactory and earned to me, I think this is going to be a great must subscribe for Apple TV. So let me give you the hook. Let me give you the premise. It takes place on the International Space Station. At least the first episode is almost exclusively on the International Space Station.
That's right.
It stars Noomi Rapace. And
Do we know her?
Yeah, most people should know her from Girl with the Dragon Tattoo.
Oh.
The American version, not the original version.
Yeah.
So that is where I've known her from. She was also in Prometheus.
Yep. Sherlock Holmes apparently as well.
She was also in Sherlock Holmes. That's right.
Yep.
Very good. I'm a big fan of Noomi Rapace. I think she's done some excellent dramatic work in the past. And in this case, she's also very, very good. She plays a scientist on board the ISS. And you know how we talk about the hook in the first episode that kind of gets you involved and gets you interested?
So important. Yeah.
There's a collision with the ISS moments before she's about to do her first spacewalk.
Right.
And she's been on the station for 9 months. She's supposed to be there on a year-long mission. She's talking to her daughter on Earth. She's talking to her husband on Earth. There's some kind of collision, and everything goes tits up almost immediately as soon as the episode starts. Yes. And it's a high-pressure situation, and it feels high pressure. Like you're tense watching this. Is she going to make it? There's a shortage of life support. Of course, the 2 escape vessels, one of them is damaged irreparably. The other one is only capable of carrying 3 out of the 4 people who are left because the 5th person dies. It's just a massive, like, you know, you're holding your breath for the entire 50 minutes of the first episode.
They should definitely make space pods that are capable of carrying all the crew. I feel like having a 3-person space pod for 4 people is inviting mutiny.
Yeah. Well, and then of course, in this case, you know, they don't do that because she's the commander. So she decides to stay back with the ship and all that. So it's good. It's really, really interesting. And then of course,
can I just chime in? It's not a spoiler, but I've watched it as well. Right. So, I mean, I'm not going to like pretend I haven't for the audience, but I absolutely agree with you on that first scene. I think that a collision scene or a space disaster scene is something that we haven't really seen a whole lot of, like in this granular, you know, way where like the alarms and the
and they're going through the procedures, through the manuals. Like it's really, it feels like this what would happen in real life.
Yeah, and that's I agree. That's a good opening episode, because one of the problems that you and I have had with a lot of shows, we've talked about this not ad nauseum but repeatedly, which is there's shows that start off very, very slow, and maybe those shows are exceptional once they start to find their footing and once they start to like hit their rhythm, but you and I are not around for it. So if you've got 2 bad episodes, you know, the remaining 8 may be fantastic and your story may be told, you know, in a very, very vivid way. But Pete and Ethan are not there to see it because the first 2 episodes are so slow and so dull. What's really the point of having this artistic masterpiece if you didn't even get any viewers for it, right? So I think Constellation does it right, where they've got a first episode and it doesn't feel too rushed. Do you agree? Like sometimes you watch something and you see like the opposite where they like dive into everything. You're like, whoa, hold on. What's the context? Why do we need like the big disaster in the opening scene? The scale isn't right, you know? And here I think that they've got the pacing right. It just feels a little bit natural the way that they've done it. But yes, it's very, very gripping for a first episode.
Absolutely. And then, of course, the B plot, which is not really the B plot. It's a B plot only in the first episode, but I imagine this is actually the crux of the entire season, is that while all of this is going on, or what may have precipitated this, is that there is a science experiment being conducted by NASA on board the ISS, and the head of the science department, or I mean, theoretically, the whole thing is the science department, but the head of this specific experiments department is Jonathan Banks, who most people will know as Mike Ehrmantraut from Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul.
Nice to see him in a different role, huh?
Yeah, so I actually saw him in the last season of Community where, he's in a comedy. So you get to see a different side of him from that as well. So it's actually pretty funny. Yeah. In any case, he plays like this a-hole who's kind of like, well, human lives be damned. I need the results of that science experiment because
he's all about the science.
Yeah. Because it could, profoundly change humanity, blah, blah, blah. And therein lies the crux of what I imagine this episode or this season is going to be. Yeah. I don't know what's going to happen. I've only seen 2 episodes, but if I had to guess, I think that the science experiment is what caused this collision. Because, in fact, I'm not even going to tell you what the collision is. We learn what the collision is in that first episode, but I'm not going to say it because it could be a spoiler-free.
Spoiler-free episode, which is rare for us.
Rare for us. Also because I want to see more. Personally, I also want to see more. So, yeah, I already have an idea as to what this experiment was because, you know what? Screw it. Let's go back to this.
Oh, yeah.
So we find out that the collision happens with a USSR, not even Russian, a USSR cosmonaut wearing old 80s. School orange spacesuit that we've all seen on TV from that era. I suspect that this science experiment, and you've seen this, so you don't confirm or deny this.
I'm not going to.
But I think that the science experiment resulted in the creation of either a parallel universe or like a split timeline or something like that. And something from another or from the past, one of these cosmonauts smacked into the ISS, which wouldn't have existed in the 70s. To be determined.
Now we've gone up to the first 2 episodes, right? So this is kind of where we're at with the first 2 episodes. Yeah. And I think the first 2 episodes really do a great job to suck you in. Like I definitely got sucked in. It sounds like you're definitely sucked in. I like the idea that no one in the cast, including Mike Ehrmantraut, is so well known that we can't get past them in the role that they fill. So I like that about, this being an original, Apple TV Plus series. No one is, it's not like what we've seen with like some of the stuff on Netflix, with, like Ryan Reynolds or Ryan Gosling or someone else where they're so well known for other roles that you can't help but to see them by their real life actor name and not by the character that they're playing in the movie, right? Here, everyone is, you take them for the role that they're playing and for the character that they are in the series. And I like that.
Yeah. I mean, this is going to sound really bad because everyone's really good in it, but it's almost like they're all B tier or C tier actors, right? Like if you put Brad Pitt in this or George Clooney in this,
he's like, Brad Pitt.
Yeah. You're going to get overshadowed by the fact that it's Brad Pitt.
Yeah. I think the casting is good. I think the pacing is good. I think the production value is
through the roof. Excellent.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it feels like you're on a space station.
Fantastic.
Yeah. And like even the exterior when they do the spacewalk to kind of repair the space station after the collision, it's pretty stellar, right? And no pun intended. It's pretty good to see what they've done. I was very impressed. And again, this is what I meant. Apple has kind of hit the nail when they go on these sci-fi shows. They know how to make it look realistic. Yeah. For All Mankind, same thing. Foundation, right? Which is their big knock it out of the park space sci-fi show. Same thing. Even though it's a crazy sci-fi thing, like the effects were very good, it never felt so far out of reach.
So with all that positivity being thrown around by us, why, pray tell, have you only given this a mooch?
So, you know what? The fact is you're absolutely right. Based on the first 2 episodes right now, this is a must subscribe.
Yeah.
I'm putting my bias of invasion I'm letting that bias me, and I shouldn't. And I think the more that you and I have spoken about this on and offline, the more you've inadvertently convinced me that this is a must subscribe. And I will just say that it's a must subscribe for me now, but I still reserve the right to downgrade it to a mooch if there's too many mysteries, not enough solutions at the end of the season.
I will give a small spoiler. I mean, you've seen my score. I've scored it as a mooch, and it's because I've seen the whole season, and I'm not going to give plot spoilers, but I will say it has this element that constantly bothers me, which is there's a lot of C plot, D plot, which is bringing in the family and the kid, which I think you've only seen a little bit of.
That's right.
For me, what really drives me nuts is when you've got a great story, especially a sci-fi story, and then you bring in all this family drama into it, which is, I think, should be fodder for a family drama show and not for a sci-fi show. If you don't have enough sci-fi material, that's your problem for trying to squeeze 10 episodes out of something where you don't have enough material. Make up more material. Don't bring the kid, the husband, the domestic family nonsense into what is otherwise a very good sci-fi story. So that's my downgrade. And I think you haven't seen that yet. And again, I'm not spoiling the plot. I'm just letting you know that apart from the plot itself, which I think is actually exceptional, when you get deeper into the series, you will see like, wait a second, go back to the space station. Instead, you'll be dealing with a lot of, let's say, flashbacks, dealing with family angst and the husband and the daughter and the blah, 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 blah. And all of a sudden you're like, wait a second, this isn't what I tuned in for. I wanted to see a sci-fi show called Constellation, not How to Save a Marriage Long Distance or so forth, So that's it's not a downgrade, but it's why, to me, it hasn't risen to the must subscribe level because there's just too much of that in it.
Okay, fair enough.
But otherwise, very positive showing from Apple TV Plus.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Absolutely. In fact, so forget about my previous score. This is a must subscribe after 2 episodes.
All right. Sticking with very positive reviews this week, maybe we're in a generous mood or maybe we just got lucky. I was assigned by you an Italian series named Suburra. It's in Italian. It's both dubbed and it's subtitles. It was first a book, and then apparently it was a movie. And now it is 3 seasons, as far as I'm aware. And it's about multiple different organized crime families in Rome, outside of Rome. And the interesting thing is, I mean, we've seen a lot of kind of gangster and crime dramas. So you can kind of think of this as, it's not exactly right, but just to put it in reference, think of it as a Sopranos, but set in Rome.
Ooh,
right?
Okay.
This is not the big El Chapo. This is not, the mega crime gangsters, the cocaine lord, living in Miami or something like this. Again, Sopranos, I think, was a very compelling show because it showed that even kind of like mid-level or low-level gangsters have like a day-to-day life, right? And I think that's what Tony Soprano kind of represented that really was compelling about him, was that, look, he's a gangster, he makes his money in this way, but he also has a family and life and all these other like celebrities. They're just like us, right? Aspect to it. And this is the same. This is, I wouldn't say it's medium to low-level crime. It's not like this thing that reaches to like all levels of the Vatican or the prime minister in Italy. I also don't want to say like it's petty theft, but no one is like dramatically wealthy in this series, right? I mean, similar to kind of what we saw in Breaking Bad as well, right? I mean, there's definitely a lot of money and it goes up to, much, much higher levels. But the folks that we're dealing with are kind of at let's call them a mid-level here. The really interesting thing about this show is that there's multiple different like families or let's say like kind of crime syndicates. They all kind of interact a little bit, but I think that we haven't really seen like their true relationships yet. Yeah. And a lot of it is also driven a little bit on, let's say, like demographics, So for example, there's like the traditional Italian family, right? That's very kind of like immersed in high society. Then there's kind of the gypsies where they're not actually like Italians, they're kind of like nationalized Italians. Maybe they were originally Greek or like a different nationality. And they're just kind of like a little bit outcast in terms of, they're not considered high society. They have money, but they're really kind of more like gangsters and not really like respected as like true mafioso. Then there's kind of like, the young up and comer kid who's trying to take over, like the syndicate for his father. You can imagine like all the different daddy issues. There's the politician who's trying to do the good thing, but sometimes doing the good thing means, doing the wrong thing because of, his perception that, this is the greater good. So I have to say, having watched probably half a season, it is fantastic. The only drawback is obviously the subtitles or the dubbing. It obviously heavily takes place in Rome and the surrounding area. So you'll, kind of see like the Italian culture and everything, but it is a very, very compelling show. I have given it a must subscribe. I think you'll like it as well. Again, it's very much in the vein of Sopranos, where again, it's not Scarface. Scarface, right? I mean, he's living in Miami. He's got like this massive, massive house. He's controlling like, this cocaine empire. Here, it's a little bit smaller scale. And you kind of sometimes wonder like, why these guys are going like through so much effort. Are they actually being paid more than like a senior accountant or like a good mid-level lawyer? Like it seems like they're going through an awful lot of stuff, putting themselves at an awful lot of like risk for being arrested, incarceration, dying, all the beat ups and stuff like that. You just wonder, like, are these guys like making, hundreds of millions of dollars? No. Tens of millions of dollars? No. $1 million? Probably no. Like, are they doing it just for kind of like, you know what I'm saying? Like, none of their houses, their cars, yes, they go to like this place and they throw like a little bit of cash, but generally you cannot say like any of them are dripping in like more money than they know what to do, right? Like Scarface is like, oh, the rats are eating all my money. Like, what do I do about this stupid problem, right? And here it's everyone is kind of like hustling, for their little piece of the pie. And they go from having, some money to not being able to pay back the money, the drill, right? Gangster style. But you kind of wonder, like, when you step back from it, like, was this really a better career choice than just kind of like going to university and becoming like a good engineer? Like, you're really going through a lot just for, the little payoff. So that is Suburra. 100% recommend it. Must subscribe. And Pete, I think you will really, really like it.
Awesome. I'm in. I love gangster stuff as well. So this should be right up my alley.
Yeah. That's this week's quite successful, I might add.
Yeah. 2 must subscribes. No joke.
2 must subscribes. No joke. Can we keep it going for next week? You may ask.
That's a great question because next week you are watching a brand new show on Apple TV called Bad Monkey.
I'm so excited. Vince Vaughn.
I haven't seen that guy on screen in ages.
Yep. And you know who else is in it?
Who else?
Someone that you and I really, really like, and that
Nicolas
is
Cage?
Michelle Monaghan.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yep. And someone else. Not
I'm going to keep guessing Nicolas Cage.
I thought it was Sabrina the Teenage Witch, but it's not.
Oh, it's not Melissa Joan Hart?
No, it's not Melissa Joan Hart, but I thought it was, Sabrina the Teenage Witch. But someone who looks very much like Sabrina the Teenage Witch.
Okay.
So that's what I've got. I've got Bad Monkey, Apple TV Plus, and it just came out.
I have another recent release on Netflix called Supercell, or Supercell, but pronounced, gangsta, Supercell.
I feel like this is always in my top 10 list. I think that's why I gave it to you.
That's exactly it. I saw it all the time. The thumbnail didn't really do anything for me. I thought it would be like one of those cheesy, whatever dramas, but I guess not.
We'll find out next week.
You'll find out next week, everyone.
All right. Pete, tell me, what are the social media creds and all that YouTube jazz?
Reach out to us, tweet at us at FNS Podcast, DM us on Instagram at Films and Stuff Podcast. And as always, the best thing you can do is like this video, leave a comment below, hit the subscribe button, and hit that notification bell.
Ring the bell. That's what we like to hear. All right. Pete, thank you. 2 positive reviews today on Streamer Skip. Listeners, thanks for tuning in. We will see you all next week on the Films and Stuff Podcast. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Ethan. Thanks, everyone.
Bye now.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Films and Stuff. If you haven't already, please subscribe and review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever podcasts are downloaded. Films and Stuff. There is no substitute.